Cody Klinker, one of the many reporters for this year's G20 Summit going on in Mexico 2012. I'm joined here with Jonathan Skillmore, another reporter for this year's G20 Summit.
Yes, and today we'll be looking at which one of these G20 countries is more just, Japan or USA. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to our G20 newscast.
You know, it's really going to be a tough day for us deciding which G20 country is more just, Japan or USA.
Yeah, Donovan, it will really be a tough decision for us, but our reporters and researchers back in the editing room have given us some good information to base our decision on, and it'll be a very close seeing both USA and Japan are very just countries. But we will get to the core of these two countries and see which one is more just. Back to you, Donovan. Now we will be telling you which government is more just. In USA, the elections are free, which shows leadership. In USA, they have the right to wear whatever they want and to express their religion or culture or personal appearance. You're allowed to practice your religion wherever and whenever you want, which is really just. For money use, Japan uses $6,444 per person a day, or per person a month. USA uses $6,281.5 per person, which means that Japan uses more money per month, but not by much. You can only vote in the elections if you're 18 years of age or older, which I think is fair. Since the United States is a democratic country, the citizens of it can vote, but only when they reach the age of 18 years old. In Japan, the official age to vote for the new government is 20 years old. Japan is a constitutional monarchy. Emperor Hiko is the head of the state but has no governing powers. The Prime Minister currently, Yoshihiko Noda, is the head of government. In Japan, women cannot currently lead the country. In USA, the government funds better for areas that are richer and not so good for areas that are poorer. He gives little to no funding, which is not just at all.
After all our research, we found out that USA has a more just government than Japan. Welcome back to our G20 newscast, and now we'll be talking about who has the more just economy.
The United States of America consumes 18.69 million barrels of oil a day, as Japan only consumes 4.36 million barrels of oil a day. USA consumes almost 5 times more oil than Japan daily. Japan and US are partner countries / trading partners. Really, they help each other out, which is really just. Japan produces materials and other things to make the lives of Americans and Japan's easier. As both countries have ginormous ecological footprints, they also both help other countries out and gain respect and dignity with them. These two economies are both mass producers of waste and technology, and materials and things to help. But if we look deep into these two countries, we will find that America is the most obese country in the world. It is with a whopping 30.6% of the whole country is being obese, and as Japan only has 3.6% of them being obese. Also, that's a big difference. Also, the drinks are much bigger in America, like fries and burgers, and everything is a lot bigger. These things are much cheaper than healthy food, which is not just. As Japan lives nearly a perfect diet, fish, vegetables, and others, this economy in Japan is much known for their organic food and healthiness. As there is not many fast food places, there is a lot of protein to be found in the local markets. Some more dirt that we found under USA is that there's a huge gap between the poor and the rich. There's a lot of people that don't make a comfortable living, confirmed to whether they do. There's a lot of homeless people because there's not very many job opportunities in America. However, in Japan, there's plenty of jobs and much bigger chance of getting in one. So by these close standards, I think that we would all agree that Japan is a more just country when it comes to the economy. What do you think?
In the United States, you have to go to school from ages 5 to 16 years old. That is the law. Education is free until the end of high school.
Welcome back, and now we will be talking about education.
In the United States, you have to go to school from ages 5 to 16 years old. That is the law. Education is free until the end of high school. About 70% of students graduate from high school, and the highest dropout rates are Hispanic and African Americans. A growing percent is now going to private school. The United States are funded by government quality. Schools in richer areas receive more funding than schools in poor areas, which is not very just. 70% of the students attend college after graduation. College in the United States is very expensive.
Japan values education. All students aged 6 to 15 years old have to go to school, and it is free until you reach the age of 15, which is not very just at all. Students must pay tuition to continue high school, which is not just. They have to buy their own uniforms, textbooks, and school trips. Almost all go to public schools, while some go to private schools. Private schools are very expensive. Many students go to school many hours before, after, and weekends. Getting into university is very hard because you have to go to school for insane periods of time. Students study for many months to prepare if you get accepted to a good university to get a good job. We all agree that it's not fair that poor parts in America get less funding. However, school is free until college, which we think is very good, as Japan has to pay for high school. We also think it is good that 90% of adults in both USA and Japan can read and write. The class sizes are much bigger in Japan, making it harder for the teachers to focus on individual students. As in America, the class sizes usually range from 18 to about 20 people, which makes it very easy for the teacher to teach all students individually, making the students have a wider knowledge about the topic that they are learning. After we did a bit more looking at our data, we all agree that the United States has a more just education system compared to Japan. This was a very close bet, but in the end, USA looked like it had a better education. The thing that really put it on the top was the smaller class size. So USA is the more just country when it comes to education.
And now we'll be talking about who has the more just religion.
In Japan, about 2% of the population is Christian, which isn't very much, but it really doesn't matter. The United States and Japan are very neck and neck when it comes down to religion. They both allow all cultures in their country. They both allow you to practice any religion you'd like. However, America is the most diverse place on the earth, which really puts it a cut above the rest. But as long as both countries can practice their own religion, I think that they're both just in this column. Most of the Japan practice Buddhism, which is a very common, peaceful religion. In my understanding, that should mean less crime and warfare. As in America, with all these religions, people might fight over which one is better. But when it comes down to the final decision, I think that we all agree that they are both very just.
The last column we'll be looking at is kinship.
Yes, and kinship, really all it matters on is, can you get married, can you get divorced, how many kids can you have? And in both countries, you can marry anyone you want. The
last column we're looking at is kinship.
Yes, and for kinship, it really doesn't matter that much to us, as long as you can marry anyone, have as many kids as you want, and have a divorce. Both countries, you can marry anyone. Doesn't matter what gender they are. Doesn't matter what the color of skin is. You can marry anyone. And also, if your relationship isn't working out with them, you can have a divorce. It's not illegal, which is very just for both people. However, you can have as many kids as you want in both countries also, which I think is very just. What do you think?
Yes, I do think that's just.
So when it comes down to it, if we really look into this, there's not much to say other than they're both just. They can marry anyone, they can have any kids that they want, and they can have a divorce. So when it comes down to it, they are both just countries in my opinion.
And mine.
After careful researches about all these categories, we have to come to the decision that the United States is more just. Even though both countries are very good, as Japan's healthcare is unreal, it's crazy, and then the United States has this amazing government, and the economy on both, they're both mass producers of all the world materials, so it's pretty good at what they have done for this world. But even though they both have big ecological footprints, which isn't very just, they do pollute a lot of stuff with all their machinery working and all their factories producing all of this stuff for the world. But it really was a close bet, because the United States only had one more just thing than the other one. Because in religion, they can practice any religion. That's just. They can have as many marriages as they want. That's just. But it's good that they can't just marry 4 people, because in some countries you can do that, which is not. And so it was very close, but we had to give it to USA just because they have a few more just things than Japan. So what do you think?
That is right. I think USA is more just.
Yeah, and I think everyone here would agree that USA is more just than Japan, just for these reasons. So Japan versus USA, we're going to put a close to it and say USA is more just. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.